Welcome to the Voices of Bucks County podcast, a project of the Bucks County Herald newspaper to highlight stories that matter in Bucks County and beyond, and told through thoughtful conversations with local and regional newsmakers. I'm your host, Eric Herr. In today's episode, I sit down with Eagles insider and media host Dave Spadaro. This was recorded on May 14th of 2026 at the Newtown Athletic Club in front of a live audience at the Lower Bucks County Chamber of Commerce Keynote Forum. Parks Casino is a supporting sponsor of the Voices of Bucks County podcast, produced by the Bucks County Herald in partnership with the Lower Bucks County Chamber of Commerce.
Then last weekend we had our Eagles Autism Challenge, and I want to start there and talk about winning. We win because the Eagles win because we are a community, and we raised $16 million on Saturday for our bringing awareness to action against autism. And there's never been a group that I've spoken with or a group that I've met with, somebody in the audience has been impacted by autism. And so if anybody was there or anybody knows anybody was there, thank you very much for making a tremendous success. And we strive to, of course, win every Super Bowl, but we really understand that the platform that the Philadelphia Eagles have really is to use it in a positive way. And our Eagles Autism Foundation has raised over almost $60 million here since 2018. So
Dave, you've been doing that for a good while, right?
Yeah, we've been doing that thank you. Thanks. Yeah, before that it was Eagles Youth Partnership. When Jeffrey bought the team in 1994, he had two missions, and the missions were to win multiple Super Bowls and to use the platform to change the world in a positive way and to be an impact player in the community every day. And so while we don't win every Super Bowl, we feel like we really help a lot of people along the way. And that's part of my job is to do that. So I take great pleasure in that.
So I was going to ask you, what exactly do you do?
That's a great question. Well, look, I mean, it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. So back in the day, 1989, we started a newspaper. My background was newspapers. We started a newspaper in conjunction with the Eagles. For those of you not old enough, a newspaper is and we were a team magazine, a team newspaper, weekly magazine, newspaper. And then the Eagles in 1997 gained permission financially to build the NovaCare Complex and Lincoln Financial Field. And we had a marketing genius named Len Komorowski who decided we're going to build a media department, create shows, create inventory, build an audience, sell the inventory, and create revenue. Teams in the NFL, teams in sports were not doing it at that time. So I came in and helped start the media department. I was director of publications then, and then I fell into running the website. One day I noticed that our offensive coordinator was still listed as John Gruden. He had already been hired as the head coach of the Raiders. And so I sent an email through the organization, I'm going to take over the website. People did not give an SHIT. And then a woman who had been on the ground floor at AOL with Ted Leonsis cashed out. She came to the Eagles and she said, I'll teach you how to make money on the web. You teach me how to be a marketer, because her dream was to go to Disney and be a marketing agent. And so she and I would sit, and I'm not a very smart person. I'm very limited in what I can do, but it just sunk in. And I realized that what fans want more than anything is access. And so the website, we were given permission to do everything. Anything I could figure out where the fans could be closer to the team between game days, they were like, yeah. So we did that and built this empire on the website. And then I started a brand like Eagles Insider. I would go on and kind of be the homer on all of the media in Philadelphia and defend the Eagles. Tough years because you were all pissed off that we never won a Super Bowl during the Andy Reid years. And I would go, and I remember sitting in a bar where I raised my family, and a guy came in and was like, hey, Dave, I'm going to break your fingers. You defend the Eagles. I'm so mad. But job has changed, right? So I've gotten older, I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but I don't do social media. So the lesson in business is this: always try to be an asset to your organization. And so I would look around and figure out ways that I could be an asset. Live events, alumni relationships, still doing content. Any touch point with fans around the world is kind of what I do. So I do a lot of everything. I still, produce content. I produce radio shows. I'm on radio shows. I produce TV shows. I'm on TV shows. I host every live event, from a corporate event tonight with one of our partners to the Eagles Autism Challenge, standing on the podium and sending off all the racer runners and walkers and riders, and literally Saturday morning hosting a youth clinic. Like anything that I can do to touch fans and to be an asset to the Eagles, that's what I do, along with being the insider in the media and kind of the guy who's supposed to know the inside knowledge.
So you're a lover of all sports, I guess, but
yeah.
You zero in on football. Why?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, my first job out of Temple was working for my hometown newspaper, and I became a columnist for the Daily Local News in Westchester, and I covered all the sports. And then the Eagles just came calling with this joint venture with a publishing company, Eagles Digest. And fortunately, from a lifestyle standpoint, it works out. We play 17 games. Baseball, you play 162 games. I mean, so like there is a work-life balance we all strive to have, and it would be very difficult to work for 162 games. So it just happened that it was the Eagles, but I was open to anything back when I was a kid.
Well, it looks like the Phillies are making things a little easier anyway with their winning.
It doesn't matter if you win or lose, honestly. I mean, you go from one thing to another so fast. All right, nobody sits around in my world,
right,
and celebrates what we did the day before, or laments what we did the day before. Win or lose, on the field, off the field. It is on to the next thing. And you have to have high energy, and you have to bring it. Philadelphia Eagles posted a social media coordinator job 2 years ago, and we got like 7,100 applications. So if you don't bring your shit every day, you're out of a job. Yeah. And so we don't sit, it doesn't matter wins, losses. It certainly helps that you win, and we've won a lot with Jeffrey Lurie.
Yeah, absolutely. You've created a winning spirit. Now, how does what the Eagles do compare with other teams in the NFL?
It's a good question. We think that we're really great at what we do, but you have to be humble. I mean, look, again, everything that Lisa was reading about me, that stuff just goes in one ear and out the other for me. I don't think that you don't ever walk around thinking you're anything special. We work as a team. I always just wanted to be part of a team. I wish the world worked that way, where we all work together to accomplish things. And so we are very critical of the things that we do. But then when you speak with your counterparts around the league, you realize that what we're doing is working. And a lot of the reason, as I'm sure that Jim can point out, we have great continuity. We have people who've been there for a long time. We have a standard. And when people come into our industry and to our organization, they have to meet the standard or they do not last. And for kids who want to work at the Eagles, and all these people that I get hit on all the time, it sounds like it's so much fun, and it is. But when your friends are at the shore in the summer and you're at training camp and you're working 7 days a week, that's what you have to be ready for. And when you lose games, it hurts. When you win games, it feels good. But the next day, Monday morning, at your 9 o'clock meeting, it doesn't matter whether you won or lost the day before. So why do we do things well? We do things well because Jeffrey Lurie is a great owner. And I was around the Eagles prior to Jeffrey, when Norman Brayman owned the team. Norman Brayman lived half the time in Florida, half the time in France. How can you run a business when you're not at the business? He had a general manager, Harry Gamble, who I think was from Bucks County. Great guy, wonderful guy. But if you're not there, if you're not there, people are going to take shortcuts on you. And shortcuts do not work. So we try not to take shortcuts.
Right, absolutely. Now, we just had the NFL draft. Now, actually, I think the first NFL draft, interestingly enough, was here in Philly. What was it, back in the 30s?
Yeah,
1930s.
Yeah, whatever the year was. Jay Berwanger was the first pick, I believe, in the draft. He was a pick by the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't think he ever reported to the Eagles. He went into the military or something. Or the NFL. The NFL back then didn't pay enough to. Maybe he went to a private job.
Gotcha. So I'm going to ask you, on behalf of my wife, I might add.
Okay.
What is the NFL draft all about? What does it mean? How does it work? The process involved and all of that.
It's a hundreds of $1 million business that attracts eyeballs. Anything the NFL do attracts eyeballs. Like it's a multi-billion business. And the NFL draft is where you have this collection of college football players who are prospects for the NFL. And this is how you build a 53-man roster. You have 53 men on the roster. At the end of the summer. Right now it's at 90. So that 90 goes to 53, and many of those are young, aspiring kids who want to play in the NFL, and the investment into that is enormous, and if you don't get it right, you don't have a winning team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, my wife does get the newspaper delivered. She still likes that tactile feel of the newspaper. So
she's the one, huh?
The newspapers certainly, are definitely alive and well.
Yeah.
No
offense. Actually, I love the model you guys are doing. By the way, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's great. We had a chat about it. It's a great model involving the community into your publication and bringing on the new wave of media these are great ideas.
Absolutely, and as part of that community, I wanted to go back to Jeffrey Lurie being a sort of an on-site owner and being involved on a daily basis. That means that's a huge difference compared with perhaps other teams.
Yeah, and what he does too is he allows you to push the envelope. He trusts in you. He will be critical of you for sure, and you have to have thick skin. But Jeffrey spends a lot of money, invests a lot of money in the team. He is not a wealthy man by NFL owner standards, certainly by our standards or my standards for sure. But he trusts you and expects you to think outside the box. There was a time back in the early 2000s when I was running the website and running the content, we were doing things that others weren't doing. We had this camera, I had this little mini camera, and we would call it Spud Cam, Spadaro Spud Cam. And so I would just rogue film before a game, and then we would just kind of put it out there on the web. And we played the Cowboys at the end of the 2009 season, last game of the regular season, and it was the first game inside their new stadium, and I went in, and I went to the star, and I spit on the star. And I was like, okay, we're going to beat the Cowboys today. And I spit again on the star. And I had been doing this all year. Nobody paid attention to it. But we lost that game, and then we were playing the Cowboys the next week in the playoffs, and we put the video on the website without editing it, of course, not thinking. And I got a call from a blogger in Ithaca, New York, saying, hey, Dave, I want to talk to you about the spitting on the star. And I was like, oh, man, I'm in trouble. And so I went to our president, Joe Banner. I'm like, hey, Joe, this is going to be a big story. I spit on the star, terrible sportsmanship. And he was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It became this gigantic story. And Joe came into my office and said, look, we pay you to push the envelope. Don't ever do it again, but this is what we want you to do. Yeah. And so I felt like, imagine your employer saying that to you. You know you've made a mistake. You know you've made a mistake out of effort. You know you didn't put your team in jeopardy. You know I've made a zillion mistakes, but it's out of effort. And Jeffrey appreciates that, and ownership appreciates that. You just got to learn from your mistakes. But if you put the team first, then that's what it's all about. And a lot of people, I've never worked in the corporate world. I never knew that that's not the way it is in the corporate world. I didn't realize that there are people cutting each other down left and right and left and right. It's like, how can you possibly have team success when you have people cutting each other down? And we saw it last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Sorry for taking over here. But first play of the game last year. First play, we went, ceremony, playing the Cowboys, we kick off. Guy goes down, on the kickoff, kid goes down, blows out his knee. Cowboy ball. Dak Prescott and Jalen Carter get into it. Jalen Carter spits on Dak Prescott, gets ejected. Gets penalized. That's the microcosm of the season. Injury, selfishness, lack of discipline. So no wonder we didn't attain the goals that we wanted to attain. 11-7 season sounds okay. Won the division, but not what we're there for. And so in the world of business, if you have selfishness, lack of discipline, and injuries, you are not going to have success.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the roster and the Cowboys and everything,
Yeah.
in case, I think the roster's in full is going to be announced tonight.
Yeah, the schedule will be,
But 2 games are currently there, if you haven't noticed. One is in London. That's what, Game 5?
That is October 11th
Jaguars,
against the Jaguars, right?
And then we have
Jaguars.
the Dallas Cowboys, dare I say that.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving.
That'll be on Thanksgiving, so that should be...
The funny thing, so like how when I think of these, like I understand the fan thing is cool. So a game in London, the Eagles leave Friday night from Philly, arrive on Saturday, the game is Sunday, and we leave right after the game.
So I wanted to ask
And so
you,
people think like, wow, this is super fun. It's business, man. It's business. The fans, we hope, go out and have a great time, and we hope to connect somehow with the UK fans who are out there, and that's part of my job too, like figuring out ways that we can connect with all those fans. But from a football standpoint, we are there to win the game, and that is all that matters.
So where did the international component come into play, and how long ago?
Yeah, as soon as the league realized, we'd been playing preseason games since the 1980s. I was in Japan a couple times, and we played over there. And once the NFL realized that there's a lot of money there, that's when the NFL really dug its claws into Europe, and to Brazil, and to Germany, and now Australia has a game. The NFL is the greatest money-making business in North America, and it is an amazing model where everybody has some sort of emotional investment, it seems, in football. And they've done a great job bringing women into the fold and having women enjoy the game and giving women powerful positions in the league and respecting what women have to offer, reaching out to an international audience that is going to never really understand the nuance of the game. We can understand what basketball is. It's 5-on-5 players. Soccer's relatively easy to understand. But the game of American football has so many nuances that it will never really be the sport over in Europe, but there's enough eyeballs and merchandise opportunities and television revenue to be generated, and that's why the NFL's there.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Obviously, there have been a lot of changes technologically speaking and so forth, but you've been with the Eagles for a good number of years. What has been, in your view, the most significant change in terms of how it's affected your job?
Computers, access, the ability for fans to be connected to their... I think it's probably the same answer with all of us. This is probably the biggest difference in everything, because the whole world is at our fingertips here. And that's what the NFL wants. The NFL has created a model where we are talking in mid-May while the Phillies season is going on, while the Flyers just finished up a nice run and the Sixers finished up their playoffs. People talk about the NFL, they talk about the Eagles. And that's the power of making sure that your brand is top of mind all year round. And that's really the key to a great business model, that you have your brand at the top of mind.
Right, so it's really a 24/7, 365
Absolutely.
job that you're doing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of sports strategies and business strategies, there's several components, as Lisa alluded to several of them along the way. So maybe expand on that a little bit about the commonality, the common denominators between sports and business.
So how many CEOs are in this, and how many people run their business in this room, right? Okay. Well, you feel the responsibility that if it is your job to have success as a business, and that you are the one that ultimately creates the culture in your business. And so, the tough part is, how do you create that culture? You've got to bring in the right people. You've got to promote the right culture every day. You have to celebrate successes. You have to be honest with each other when you don't have success. And that's the same formula as in the NFL. It's not the business with the most money and the most resources. It's generally the one that uses what it has in the most efficient and positive way, and that you somehow avoid those pitfalls of your employees beating each other up and marring the mission. We have a player, A.J. Brown, who is likely, reportedly, because we're recording, to get traded. And on the one hand, we can't say, wow, that's really terrible of A.J. Brown. Like, wow, how could he do this? Well, A.J.'s football players have a limited time where they're earning money. So he wants a new contract. So, okay. What's tough is going about it in the way that, making it very public that you're unhappy. That creates a culture, a counterculture to your winning. And so in your business, you have employees. Do you really know how they feel about your business? Do you really know how they feel about their place in your business? Do they know that you've got their back when they spit on the star? Do you know that they feel comfortable with their growth potential, right? So that's kind of the same thing in the NFL. And, look, not to go into the tough subject with the Patriots, but they've got a head coach Mike Vrabel, who's going through some really, really tough stuff right now, right? He has reportedly and visual evidence-wise has been very inappropriate in a lot of ways. So Mike Vrabel's the CEO of that football team. He's got to stand up in front of all of his players and say, the only way that we're going to win is if you trust me, if you have my back, if I have your back, if you trust the guy next to you. Well, has he shown that by example? So how can he so it's very much a parallel. The football is a business, and it's not just defined by wins and losses. It certainly helps a lot. I'm fortunate, and in my years here, Jeffrey's owned the team for 31 years. We've been in the playoff 20 times. We've been to 8 NFC championship games, 4 Super Bowls. We have the right thing going. We have some very key pieces. You always have in your business, you've got to have that. You're the CEO, so you better have a great, CFO or a great strategist or somebody. We've always had a quarterback in place. Mm-hmm. I think that there's I think the parallels are very, very obvious. Create the culture, and then don't fool yourselves. Be honest that if things are not working, or if there are people who are not in your business that are rowing in the same direction you are, you've got to make a change. You've got to make a change. My wife owns a recruiting company, and it's been business is tough right now, right? Business is really tough. And so she made the decision that she's going to leave that company and kind of do her own thing, her own thing. She owned 40% of the company. They were doing okay. They've never taken any outside money. They want to sell the business. It hasn't happened. A letter of intent just fell through. She's devastated. Every day is boom, boom, up, down, up, down. I could never handle it. I'm an emotional wreck. I'm be all over the place. She's great. Men are far less emotionally prepared than women. Women are so much more emotionally prepared. And so, but it's she had to make the tough decision. I have to leave the company. It's not going the right way. So that's very tough. Saying goodbye to people that you love is really, really hard to do.
Yeah. So how is that decision made in the front office for the Eagles? When you've got players, say an A.J. Brown.
Players are easy. Players are very easy to. Players, it's performance, very much based. One of our big football meetings of the year, before the season starts, our head coach has a meeting, and he tells the players it's a know your role meeting. And his line that I love is that everybody's here for a reason. So imagine bring all your employees in. Everybody's here for a reason. I love all of you. I have a vision for what your role in this company is going to be. This is your role. And so that's what Nick does every year. Nick Sirianni, your head coach. This is your role, and be a superstar in your role. Is that any different than running the businesses that you run? Is that any different? And if you perform as a superstar, expect to be compensated as a superstar. As a player, if you have a contract, and most of us are at-will employees, so it's a little bit different. But as a player, if you are not performing, they're going to bring in competition, and that's what the NFL draft, to circle back. These young players, younger, faster, stronger, generally is better than older, slower, and weaker.
Gotcha. So in terms of challenges and rewards in what you do, give us maybe a couple of each.
Well, that's a reward.
That certainly is a reward. A big reward at that.
But it's a bauble. Nobody wears this. I get great satisfaction bringing this ring to events like this or going to a game and passing the ring out to Eagles fans. Because, like, first of all, without fans, there would be no me. Without the fans, we wouldn't have won 3 straight home games in 2024 to reach the Super Bowl and beat the Chiefs. And so that's a great reward. But, like, meeting fans is a great reward. Having an event where every part of the event, from the setup to the microphones, to the podcast, every part of it works. And so I'm the one, like, as the talent, if you will, but everybody, we had the Eagles Autism Foundation, the Eagles Autism Challenge this weekend. This young girl was running it. It was a huge project, and she did a great job. And it was really important for me to tell her that she was great with me. And so that's a huge reward. The losses are, I don't know, I really don't consider losses. Back in the day, after losing in 2002, we lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game. And for anybody who's a sports fan and old enough to remember, it was the worst loss in the history of sports, right, in Philadelphia. And I remember sitting slumped down in the Eagles interview rooms, like head down, and a coach walked by me and he said, "Hey, Dave, never let them see you with your head down." And it stuck with me. So what is losing a game? Okay, we lost a game, bummer. Season ends, we didn't win the Super Bowl, I feel bad. But you always wake up the next day with an expectation of climbing up the ladder again and winning the next year.
Well, to your point, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you handle
yeah, I mean, but
the
like
losses
there's
and
a
the
component
wins.
of winning, but you do have to win. Like,
Sure.
we have Eagles fans are not going to be like, "Oh, yay, the Eagles are great. You suck, and you guys didn't make the playoffs again. You suck, you suck, you suck." No. That's what Cowboys fans are. The joke is that Dak Prescott was engaged, right? But he broke up with his fiance because he can't stand being that close to a ring, right? Boom, boom.
So we have some free agency things going on here.
Let's talk
Talk a little bit about that and what that's going to
I mean,
mean.
look, I will tell you, I think we're going to be a really good football team. I'm very excited about it. I thought
Won
last
the
year,
Super Bowl?
I never go that far. I always like to just kind of enjoy every page of the book. The last year, I knew it was going to be tough. Coming back after winning the Super Bowl, we partied our asses off. Let's be honest. Like, everybody was like on the banquet tour. For anybody, anywhere you go, if like everybody's always cheering you and always patting you on the back and always, oh great, have another cupcake. You know, I mean, that's just that catches up to you after a while. So I felt that we lost a little bit of our edge, and we lost a lot of good players, and it's just really hard to repeat. And I think this year we've got some new young blood. I think our defense we've rebuilt our defense the last couple of years. I really love what our defense has going on. We'll probably add a safety at some point, but for the most part, I think our defense is terrific. We brought in a new offensive coordinator, and this is an indication of what the NFL is all about now. I'm 61 years old. The NFL now has 33-year-old offensive coordinators. These guys are like babies. They barely like are old enough to vote. Like, and they're running and head coaches, and they're like so like youth is served. So we've got a new offensive coordinator. We've got some new energy on offense, and it'll generally come down to the health of the offensive line, the play of the quarterback. I think Jalen feels like he's on a little bit of people are kind of like eyeing him up for some success or failure. He's gotten a lot of kind of bad press in the offseason. And that motivates players. And whether they say they don't pay attention to it, they do. And it's dangerous to do it, but people around them are always feeding them the latest, what people are saying about you.
Right. We have Dallas Goedert back from what
Dallas
I hear, right?
Goedert's
He's
back.
back.
I mean, yeah, our offense should be really good. AJ, chances are, there's a chance that he won't be here. So, but we've got, the key really is all the grunts and all the pretty boys get all the headlines, and Saquon and Devontae and Dallas and AJ, but where it really happens in the football is the line of scrimmage. And Lane Johnson is an older guy, and Cam Jurgens has been beat up, and Landon Dickerson can barely walk. He's got a really degenerative knee. So we have some younger linemen who are ready in case those guys falter.
Gotcha. So what would be the advice that you would give somebody getting into the media field and what you do and what I do? And
yeah, I mean, I get that question a lot. And it's hard, as it is with every business. And I can't predict what the media will look like in 5 years. What the interesting thing is that for anybody who has content, and anybody who has a business, you have platforms to promote your own businesses and your own selves. And you can go and start a YouTube channel anytime you want. The challenge is producing content every single day. It is way harder than you think it is. And so that's one positive thing, that there's fertile ground, there's a lot of platforms. The tough part is who's going to pay you for the content. Who is going to, the traditional media. Look, one of the reasons when we talked about what the Herald's doing, a community newspaper is so valuable. It is so valuable. It is the lifeline of a community. And those communities that don't have it are missing something. They're missing accountability. They're missing opportunities for the community to get together, except this is great. But there's the television route. It's a dead medium. The radio world, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, it is
So
tough.
for all these young people who want to get into it, my advice is this: learn how to do everything. When you're in college, nobody gives a damn about your grades when you go and apply for jobs. They want to see what you can do. So learn to edit, learn to write, learn to speak. Every single person should take a public speaking class. Every single person should take a personal finance class. Every single person needs to have versatility. The reason I've survived, and I'm in a young world, and I'm an older guy, and because I've just been able to kind of keep moving and try to learn. I can do a lot of things reasonably well, and
Well, it's harder to hit a moving target too.
yeah. Let's put it that way. That means gotta stay on the move. Then just gotta keep bobbing and weaving. For kids, just learn how to do everything. Learn how to do everything, and be prepared to be humbled for a long time. And if you're trying to get into it because you think you're going to be rich, that is not why you get into a business. You get into it because you have a passion for the business. And if you can write, and if you can speak, if you can communicate with people, if you have skills to deal with other people, think of the other businesses that you can get into.
Absolutely.
All of our businesses are done. AI cannot take away the person-to-person relationships, and that is how you build everything in your life. Your friendships, your families, your loves, your businesses, everything. And AI will never take that away. But these kids hiding behind their keyboards all the time, afraid to ask a girl out on a date, afraid to put themselves out there, afraid to make mistakes, that is not how you have success.
You need to come into my classroom and tell my students that.
Happy to do so anytime. Happy to do so anytime.
Because I come in on a Monday morning. How is everybody?
Yeah,
Crickets.
it's like,
I'm going to go out and come in again. Let's try this on take two.
Look, we have all lived through periods of time in our life. We've lived through this world where, the computer and the phone took over our lives. And you see people who've gotten consumed by it who don't know how to use it to their advantage. And for those who have, who are younger and you've got AI coming into your world, don't shy away from AI. Use AI to your advantage. There's always an advantage if you see that this is a new tool for you to use, not something to run away from.
Absolutely. And going back to your point about local newspapers like the Herald, for example, and so forth, they really capture the spirit of the community in a way that larger publications perhaps don't.
I live in Philadelphia. The Inquirer has kind of forgotten our deal. There's no local sports. When I grew up in Westchester, I worked for the local newspaper. When I lived in Havertown and raised my family, there were local newspapers, more than the Delaware County paper. It was more of a local, I want to know what's going on in my community. I want to know where I can, reach out and touch my neighbors. I want to know where there's specials at the grocery store. I want to know what's happening with the neighborhood around me. And
you can't get that.
You can't get that in a lot of places.
So one final thing, and that is there anything maybe that I haven't asked of you that you feel I've missed or that you would like to add?
One thing I'll say is this. Earlier today, you were all spelling Eagles, okay? And there were too many of you spelling it the right way. Because in Philadelphia, that has disqualified you from being a mayor of the city of Philadelphia. Because you'll remember last year they spelled Eagles. She spelled Eagles, E-G-L-E-S or whatever it was, and she screwed it all up. So, no, look, I appreciate you all having me. I'm really thankful that you had me out here, and I love doing this, and I recognize what sports means to people, and that it's no matter what your religious beliefs, political beliefs, economic situation is, sports brings people together. And for that, I'm very thankful.
And the whole process of networking and continuing to know people and develop relationships.
Yeah, it's just fun. I mean, this is what life's all about. So don't ever have this taken away from us.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care.